Russian President Vladimir Putin has proposed restarting direct talks with Ukraine in Istanbul on May 15, without preconditions. According to Associated Press, the offer came in response to Ukraine and its allies urging Moscow to commit to an unconditional 30-day ceasefire. Putin referenced the unsuccessful 2022 peace talks that took place in Istanbul in the first month of Moscow's full-scale invasion, and proposed restarting them without preconditions in remarks to reporters in the early hours of Sunday. Putin's proposal came after leaders from 4 major European countries threatened to ratchet up pressure on Moscow if it does not accept an unconditional 30-day ceasefire in Ukraine that they offered on Saturday in a strong show of unity with Kiev. The leaders of France, the United Kingdom, Germany, and Poland said their proposal for a ceasefire to start on Monday was supported by US President Donald Trump, whom they had briefed over the phone earlier in the day. Putin did not directly address this latest ceasefire proposal in remarks on Saturday, even as Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov earlier told CNN that Moscow will need to consider it. Russia's own unilateral 3-day ceasefire, declared for the 80th anniversary of victory over Nazi Germany, expires Saturday, and Ukraine says Russian forces have repeatedly violated it. In March, the United States proposed an immediate, limited 30-day truce, which Ukraine accepted, but the Kremlin has held out for terms more to its liking.
Добрый вечер, доброй ночи. Всех хочу поприветствовать. Что мы видим? Каковы эти результаты? Киевские власти, вы, собственно говоря, сами это все видите прекрасно, вообще не откликнулись на наше предложение о прекращении огня. Более того, после объявления нашего предложения, а это произошло, как вы помните, 5 мая текущего года, киевские власти уже с 6 на 7 мая предприняли масштабные атаки. В ударе участвовало 524 беспилотных летательных аппарата и ряд ракет западного производства, которые в эти дни были вместе с нами в Москве на юбилейных торжествах. Несмотря ни на что, предлагаем киевским властям возобновить переговоры, прерванные ими в конце 2022 года. Возобновить прямые переговоры, причем, подчеркну, без всяких предварительных условий. Начать предлагаем без промедления уже в следующий четверг, 15 мая, в Стамбуле, там, где они проводились ранее, и там, где они были прерваны с государствами Европы. В том числе и теми, которые сегодня по-прежнему мы настроены на серьезные переговоры с Украиной. Их смысл в том, чтобы устранить первопричины конфликта, выйти на установление долгосрочного, прочного мира на историческую перспективу. Не исключаем, что в ходе этих переговоров удастся договориться и о каких-то новых перемириях, о новом прекращении огня. С воздушного пространства в Москву приехали и лидеры некоторых европейских стран. Причем о реальном перемирии, которое соблюдалось бы не только Россией, но и украинской стороной. Было бы первым шагом, повторяю, к долгосрочному устойчивому миру, а не прологом к продолжению вооруженного конфликта после довооружения, доукомплектования ВСУ и лихорадочного рытья окопов и новых опорных пунктов. Кому нужен такой мир? Наше предложение, что называется, на столе. Решение сейчас за украинскими властями и их кураторами. Они не имели никакого военного значения, проводились исключительно. Сейчас идут боевые действия, война. А мы предлагаем возобновить переговоры, прерванные не нами. Ну чего здесь плохого? Те, кто действительно хочет мира, не может это не поддержать. При этом хотел бы вновь выразить признательность за посреднические услуги, усилия, направленные на мирное урегулирование украинского кризиса, которые предпринимают наши зарубежные партнеры. А это и Китай, и Бразилия, страны Африки, Ближнего Востока и в последнее время новая администрация Соединенных Штатов Америки. Внимание.
Hopes that Vladimir Putin will agree to voluntarily end his invasion of Ukraine as a result of peace talks are a big illusion, because it is impossible to conduct rational negotiations with Russia. Mikhailo Podolyak, an advisor to the head of the president's office, expressed this opinion in an interview with The Times. He is confident that Russia cannot, does not want, and will not stop military actions in Ukraine unless it is forced to do so by economic sanctions and attacks on its military infrastructure. All the talk about how one can negotiate with Russia and agree on something pragmatically and rationally is just an illusion. One big illusion, Podolyak emphasized. He also said that Putin would now be unable to reverse his invasion even if he wanted to, because the Kremlin had completely rebuilt Russia's economy around the war, and that Moscow would likely face an uprising if it tried to do so. The military-industrial complex in Russia today is the only developed sector of the economy, and many people earn money from the war, either directly or by serving the war at enterprises and so on. There will be nowhere to redirect all this. If Putin stopped the war now, without coercion, it would cause an uprising. People would have nowhere to earn such big money, and also nowhere to splash out their hatred. Russia cannot, at least voluntarily, leave this war now, he is sure. At the same time, he is convinced that Ukraine does not necessarily face eternal war, and Russia can be forced to retreat. Russia can be forced into peace only by sharply increasing its costs of war, primarily financial ones, he said. Podolyak also added that increased Ukrainian strikes on military targets in Russia, as well as drone attacks, could bring the war to the Russians. This has a significant impact on public sentiment in Russia, he said. At the same time, Podolyak said that Ukraine still considers the United States an important ally along with Europe. Emotionally, yes, everything is very difficult, because this is the third year of the war, but we still understand that the United States is our partner, he said. At the same time, the advisor to the head of the OP noted that the change in the rhetoric of the Trump administration shows that the US now looks at Russia more realistically. Soft diplomacy will only give Russia the feeling that the other side is ready to give in, and so it will start to raise the stakes. Russia wants to dominate everything, even in bilateral negotiations with the United States, he said. He also commented on the signing of the sub-oil agreement with the United States, noting that it guarantees the supply of American weapons to Kiev, which has been in question in recent months. They need to protect their assets now, right? And if we partner with them, they can sell us, even commercially, weapons that we will use to protect our territory, and with it, their assets, he said.